Moving on to Eritrea, I'm sure that you guys have heard what Denmark is doing to Eritrean asylum seekers. They no longer want Eritreans to get asylum easily in Denmark, but instead of just saying that, okay, we're getting tired of helping you or something, instead of that, they put so many applications on hold and embarked on what they call research to know if truly people are leaving Eritrea for human rights issues. And then they came up with the conclusion that people are actually leaving Eritrea in order to avoid the mandatory national service and because of the prospect of a better life in Europe. I was like, what? In other words, they're saying that people are not living because of human rights issues in the country. They're saying that there is no violation of human rights in Eritrea. Keep in mind that this anonymous researcher spent about 3 weeks in Eritrea and they spoke with 12 anonymous sources. 9 of these are representatives of international organizations in Eritrea, which includes 5 Western embassies. Of course, they won't say anything bad about the government. And then the remaining 3 sources are one regional NGO based in Asmara, a representative of the Eritrean Foreign Ministry, as well as a well-known Eritrean intellectual that they refuse to name. So I'm like, really? These are the people that you spoke with and you came to that conclusion? How interesting, like very interesting. Why not talk to parents whose children have been in the military service for years and years and now the parents have to fend for themselves even in their old age? Or why not talk to religious leaders who have been saying that the government is really destroying families with this forced national service? Why not talk to regular people on the street, ask them about their lives, ask them about what's going on? So this is why I have problems sometimes with so many of these Western helps. And as expected, the government of Eritrea is very happy with Denmark's conclusion because, of course, they don't want the world to know what's actually going on in Eritrea. And, you know, I couldn't believe all the supporters of the Eritrean government who are saying, oh, it's true, there's no human rights violations in Eritrea, everything is great. We're glad that Denmark is telling the world that everything is great. I said, if everything is great, why then is it that in the last 10 years, more than 200,000 Eritreans have fled the country? More than 200,000. In fact, according to the UN, the number has doubled. Almost 4,000 Eritreans are fleeing the country every month. Every month now, almost 4,000 people risking their lives because, you know, if you get caught, you are either killed for trying to leave or you're taken to the national service. I once interviewed this beautiful young lady, the daughter of Solomon Petrus, whose parents have both been in prison since she was young. And I also spoke with her grandmother, who has had to take care of them all these years. She talked about so many atrocities going on in Eritrea, how there is no freedom of anything, actually. You know, she said that one of her brothers was caught trying to flee and he was forced to go to the national service. You can watch the full interview on YouTube. It's so heart-touching. And by the way, the document released by the Danish officials said that the regime does not allow any opposition. They said that. I mean, what does that mean? It means that you're free in Eritrea so long as you don't criticize the government or say anything bad about the government. It's like saying we're cool so long as you only do what we tell you and you don't ask any questions. People are not puppets. How do you live in a place like that? Honestly, I don't know what war this president is preparing for. What is this mandatory military service thing that some people have been there for more than 10 years? Enough already. Let people go home and be with their families. You will see old people fending for themselves because all their children are now serving in the army. For what? You torture people anyhow and you put them in arbitrary detention. You know that Amnesty International estimates that at least 10,000 people in Eritrea, 10,000, are subject to unlawful and politically motivated detention. But you know what? Activists are saying that the number is actually much more than that about 50,000 people are in detention. There is no freedom of expression in Eritrea or freedom of association. If about 10 people should gather now to hang out or something, policemen will show up and say they are probably plotting a coup against the president. Just imagine that, and you could get arrested just for gathering. There's no real freedom of religion because they're monitoring whatever you're discussing. Elections have not been held since Eritrea gained independence in 1993. That is 21 years ago. No election. The constitution has never been implemented, and political parties are not allowed. It's just a one-man show. Only this president, and he has absolute power. Absolutely. No institutional constraints on President Assad whatsoever, and he's robbing the nation of its young and able. And guess what? He's made it difficult even for international humanitarian and human rights organizations to come into the country and help people. And yeah, there is no freedom of press in Eritrea, which tells me we probably don't get to hear about so many of the atrocities going on. Eritrea has no independent media whatsoever. Not one till today. No independent media. It's all controlled by the government. How do you live in a place like that? And you're telling me that everything is okay? No, it is not. So I think that it's a shame for Denmark to come to that conclusion that, oh, young people are just living because they are looking for greener pasture. To me, that's not only being insensitive to the plight of so many people, but it is actually encouraging the government of Eritrea to keep going on with the human rights violations. Having said that though, I really don't blame Denmark or all these other countries that are making it hard for African immigrants to come into their countries. They're just trying to protect their own interest. I blame all these Western countries that are still doing business with Eritrea, like the US. I mean, if they put sanction on Eritrea like they did with Zimbabwe, the government of Eritrea would wake up. I blame the OAU. What is the OAU doing about? Why do we have to depend on Western countries to solve our problems each time? What about other African countries? What are they doing about this? And for those of you that are defending Eritrean government, oh my god, I feel so sorry for you, because the day you also say something that this government doesn't like, that's the same day you also become an enemy of the state. The day you stand up for yourself, the day you stop being a puppet, that's the day you become an enemy of the state. No one is trying to paint your country bad, by the way, because I know I get emails, why are you talking about Eritrea? You're a Nigerian, who gave you the right to talk about Eritrea? I talk about Nigeria as well and what's going on in Nigeria. You think I like talking about all these issues? But so long as we're in denial, we're not ready for help. It's not fair that just because you're not affected, just because you are benefiting from this government, you don't want the world to know about other people's plight. Instead of arguing with people on the internet that it's not true, everything is great in Eritrea, maybe take a minute and, get over yourself and be less selfish and think about other people, especially those who never make it to other countries. So many people have died on the way from Eritrea to where they're trying to go to. Last year, I talked about how 300 people died when their boat capsized in Lampedusa. I've talked about this before, that so many Eritreans, Ethiopians, Sudanese are being kidnapped in the Sinai Desert on their way to Israel. So many of them are being used as slaves. So yes, slavery is still going on. Most of the women are raped. A lot of them, they use them as ransom to get huge amount of money from their family members. And believe it or not, many of them, they just harvest their organs to go and sell in black market. I'm so sorry, but I had to show you. It's for you to know how people are risking their lives just to get out of Eritrea. Then I don't think they are just looking for greener pasture. No, there has to be something they are running away from if they would face something like this. But then you guys know that I don't know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.